Very good. Welcome back, members of the jury. Everyone have a seat, and please call your next witness. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. You may proceed.
Tracy Lynn Hartig. First name Tracy, middle name Lyn, last name Hartig.
Hey, doctor, can you go through your current job, your education, and your training?
Certainly. I'm a licensed psychologist in the state of Florida. I graduated from Clemson University with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. I then went to graduate school at Nova Southeastern University, where I obtained a master's in psychology and then a doctorate in psychology. As part of the licensing process for Florida, first to graduate, I did an internship at a site that was approved by the American Psychological Association. That was in Wichita, Kansas. Then I returned to Florida, graduated, and then completed a year of supervised clinical experience to sit for licensing in the state of Florida. To get the license, in addition to doing that year of supervised experience, you also have to take and pass a licensing exam. I've been licensed in the state of Florida as a psychologist since 1999. I have focused my practice on forensic issues, which is working with the court system to answer various psychological legal questions. So I've been doing that since 1999. I started working down in the Fort Lauderdale area. In June of 2000, I relocated to Polk County, where my practice has been primarily based since that time. I do sometimes do work in other counties, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and other counties around the state, but my primary practice has been in the 10th Judicial Circuit. So I'm a private psychologist. I get hired independently to do evaluations, but I've also worked in addition to with the courts with the Office of Disability Determinations, Department of Children and Families, Child Protection Team, and some personal injury work. To maintain my license, I have to complete 40 hours of continuing education credits every 2 years. So I've been doing that since I was licensed.
The courts previously qualified you as an expert in forensic psychology?
Yes.
You know how many times?
I've testified over around 250 times, so at least that number.
And that's all in Florida?
Yes.
In this case, what were you asked to do?
I was asked to evaluate Mr. Isaiah Chance for mitigation. I was asked to assess for psychological factors, cognitive factors, and ultimately to develop any psychological mitigation for this death penalty case.
And what did that evaluation involve?
I reviewed records, the offense documents. I evaluated him. I met with him for 2 hours over 2 dates. The evaluation was conducted in person at the Hillsborough County Jail. In addition to interviewing him and getting a comprehensive background information, mental status examination, I administered standardized psychological testing to assess for academic and intellectual factors. I also spoke with his mother for about an hour by telephone, and I had the opportunity to review his Duval County school records, which were extensive as he was evaluated multiple times over his career or educational career.
And what was your initial impression of Mr. Chance when you first met him?
He was friendly, pleasant, engaged. He presented good hygiene, good grooming. There was no indication or overt signs of depression, anxiety. He, again, was pleasant. He was not hostile, irritable, aggressive. Again, ultimately friendly, cooperative, engaged, willing to participate.
Anything stand out to you during your sessions about how he presented himself?
Yes. So throughout both sessions, he presented as invested in presenting to me and having me see him as capable and smart. And this was a theme that stood out to me. It's a little different than I see typically, in that he wanted me to see that he was smart. He would say that he may not have done well in school, but he was really smart. He'd worked on things. He at times would ask me if I knew what something meant, or a word, or what something meant, and not because it was almost as if he was trying to show me that he too knows things, and he understands what's going on, and he knows how things work. So overall, just trying to present it as a smart and capable individual.
How did he present emotionally?
He presented, again, with this a bright affect. He presented with, as someone who was, again, a bit naive, but yet upbeat and happy, again, pleasant. He presented as someone who was not suffering from any serious depression, as someone who was connected with others. He talked about his family, described his mother as his heart, his everything, his love. He became tearful at one point when talking about his mother and wanting contact with her. He talked about his bond with closeness with his siblings. So he presented as someone who did not present with any major mental health as far as like depression or anxiety, psychosis types of concerns, and as an individual who was connected with others.
Let's talk about the testing. I think you did the academic achievement testing?
Yes.
And what did that testing show?
So the academic achievement testing is testing to see how someone is performing at typical academic skills, such as math, spelling, reading. So the assessment that I gave him assessed over 4 categories. And those are categories: reading, which is his sight reading, his math skills, his spelling, and his reading comprehension. So the reading comprehension is, so reading is his ability to just pronounce or say words. Sentence comprehension is his ability to read a sentence and comprehend what he's reading. So those results indicated that his reading, his ability to sight read, was at a 5th grade level. His math skills were at a 3rd grade level. His spelling skills were at a 8th grade level, and his sentence comprehension skills were at a 7th grade level. The 7th grade level being an ending 7th grade level. Overall, all of his scores from his worst subject area, which would be math, which is at a 3rd grade level, to his best subject level, which would have been the sentence comprehension, or I'm sorry, the spelling, was around an 8th grade level. What's interesting about that academic testing is that it's all below it's not high school level academic functioning.
How does that translate? Can you say how that translates into the real world for some of those specific skills?
Yes. So when we're talking about math skills and we're talking about a 3rd grade level, think of it as an 8-year-old doing math. When we're talking about spelling at an 8th grade level, you're thinking around ending middle school. I think that's like 12, 13 years of age. So we're talking about somebody who's functioning at a lower level than you might expect for someone who's 18, 19, or 20, certainly lower than high school. And this has implications for ability to understand contracts, legal documents, directions and instructions, sometimes if they're complex or multi-step. So it has implications with regards to daily functioning, especially things that require more organization, more attention, more knowledge, and more ability.
Thank you. And you administered an IQ test, is it the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale?
Yes. So the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale is actually now in its 5th version. It's been around for a very long time. I administered the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale 4th edition to him, as that was the one out at the time that I saw him. That's assessment that is designed to assess what someone's IQ is, and it goes over several areas. So we're looking at someone's ability to do multiple different things. The test is broken down into 4 different parts. So there's a verbal comprehension part, a working memory index part, perceptual reasoning, and processing speed. And all 4 of those, and then there's individual subtests, several within each of those parts. And all of that gets added up together to come to what we call a full-scale IQ, or someone's overall intellectual ability. And you can see strengths and weaknesses in some of that. Some people are strong all across all of those areas, some poor across all of those areas, and some are mixed. So for Mr. Chance, he got a full-scale IQ score of 71. And what that tells us is that his intellectual functioning is in what we call the borderline range. There's the average range, which is 90 to 109. And of course, high, average, superior are above that 109. But for purposes here, average is 90 to 109. Low average is 80 to 89. Borderline is 70 to 79. And anything 69 and below is what we associate with someone who has an intellectual disability. So his score of 71 is in the borderline range, but it is at the low end of that range and close to an individual who would have an intellectual disability.
All right. Can you explain how that broke down along the areas of cognitive functioning?
Yes. So again, as I talked about, there are 4 different areas. So there's the verbal comprehension category, which is assessing language skills, word knowledge, and is verbally based. It's the subtests are based on, for example, vocabulary information, the similarities between items where you're talking through what the similarities are. And on that particular area, he got a scaled score of 81, which places him actually in the low average range. It is the end of the low average range, but it is in the low average range. And this was one of his areas of strength. The other area of strength was his processing speed, which was also a score of 81, which again is low average. Processing speed is his ability to intake information and quickly come up with the answer or the response. Those subtests for that are timed tests. They're tests where the person is performing an activity that's hands-on task under a timed situation. Again, he got an 81. So on those 2 of the 4 parts, he was in the score of 81, which is in the low average range, which were strengths for him. Next, we look at working memory index. He got a 71, which places him at the low end of the borderline range. And that 71 with the working memory index is his ability to attend to information, organize it in memory, and then produce a response. So, for example, math skills are part of one of the subtests for this. Last, we have the perceptual reasoning, which he got a 69. 69 is in that intellectually deficient range. And the perceptual reasoning is his ability to reason out things, make inferences, come up with, it's kind of organizing parts into a whole. So it's kind of, in a sense, like a problem solving. It's fluid, abstract thinking. So it's got those 4 components, and as I said, he had the 81 on 2 of the parts, a 71 on the working memory index, a 69 on the processing speed, and then, on the perceptual reasoning, and that all comes together for the full scale IQ score, which is the 71.
And there's a spread in between some of those. Obviously, what do you make of that?
Yes, so there is a 12-point spread between the 69 score and the 81 scores. That spread is what we see that's more associated with an individual who maybe has like a learning disability. So as I said before, people can have strengths and weaknesses on these different subtests, and some do well in certain areas and not well in other areas. So this 12-point spread suggested to me that he is an individual who has some relative strengths and relative weaknesses, and that again, there's a pattern to how he can function, and that he'll have areas of functioning in day-to-day life where he is better at others.
How did these IQ results match up with his academic records?
The IQ test results and the academic test results were consistent, which is what we look for when we're looking at, for example, validity and reliability of assessments. He performed well on the verbal subtest on the academic testing. He performed well on the verbal subtest on the IQ test. On the assessments, for example, on the working memory index with a math component, he did poorly, which is also what he did poorly on with the academic testing, with math being his lowest skill area.
How did he do during this testing, when you get to the end of a time section and he ran out of time?
So Mr. Chance was, as I said earlier, invested in presenting as smart and capable. And that is his same approach to the testing. So for the time test, where you have a time that you tell them to stop working, he wanted to keep going. Or if it was simply a question where he wasn't timed and had produced an answer, but it was time to move on, he wanted more time. He was invested in trying to come up with an answer.
Let's talk about the Duval County Public School records. What is in the big picture, what do those show?
The big picture shows that he is an individual who has struggled academically since he started school. He had multiple evaluations. He was first evaluated at the age of 4. There was some concern with speech difficulties at that time. He was tested with a preschool measure that showed an IQ score of 81. Caution has to be given when you're testing children that young, because there's a lot of factors that can affect performance, and or sometimes the scores can appear higher than they actually are, because as the child gets older and more learning of school and academic takes place, then they sometimes start to fall behind. He was tested again just before he turned age 10, and he was tested again at age 12. Those times he was tested due to academic concerns and concerns with maintaining his attention and focus in the classroom. He was administered academic and IQ testing in both of those later evaluations. His testing when he was just about age 10 showed that he resulted in a full-scale IQ score of 70, which is just at that borderline range. He was tested again when he was about 12, and those results were a 63, which is well in the intellectually deficient range. Academic testing was consistent with his IQ test results at the time. So overall, what we're seeing is a historical documentation of his functioning, and his functioning being pretty consistent over all of that time.
And at the age 12, was there an issue with him in different classes or potentially moving him to different classes?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Was there, at age 12, did the evaluation talk about moving him to specific classes and he was pulled out of the school?
I believe there was some issues with, when he was tested in age 12, he was at that point repeating the 4th grade. I don't remember specifically if he was pulled out of school at that point, but there were some changes in his school. At times he was going to school in public school. Sometimes he was attending more private Christian schools. I believe it was a few years later, because there was an indication that school wanted him to be evaluated again several years later after that evaluation when he was 12 in 2015. And it appeared at that time his mother had pulled him out of the school to go to a different, to do homeschool at that point in time.
What is the significance of the pattern that you believe you saw with the 3 evaluations and tests in school, along with your evaluation here?
So the significance of the pattern is a couple things. First, the significance is that it shows that he's consistent with the testing, that he is who he is, he functions how he functions. Those test results are also important to, for example, me, when I'm conducting evaluations like this, because it gives me a historical picture of the individual. It gives me a documentation of how the individual was performing at another point in time. His test results, so it helps me to determine the validity and the reliability of the test results that I have. So not only does it establish a historical pattern for an individual, but it also gives me a basis for which to compare my test results to determine if those results are indeed an accurate reflection of how someone is functioning.
Did you also see notes about classroom observations or behavioral assessments?
Yes, and that's another important piece to the school records, is that when they are conducting their evaluations, they, in the evaluations, comment if they think the results are valid or not. They talk about how the child approached the testing with descriptions of the child, in which case he was described as somebody who was pleasant and working to the best of his abilities. But also the observations, because in one of them, attention difficulties were a significant concern. So that evaluator was also observing him in the classroom to address those issues. And they were noting that they do 10-second timed intervals, and every 10 seconds he was engaging in an off-task behavior. It was also noted that like 63% of the time he would be on task, but when compared to his peers, male peers in his classroom, they were on task like 95% of the time. So the examiner, the school psychologist's observation of him was that he was off task compared, not only just off task, but compared off task to other students in the classroom in the same environment that he was in. It also described behaviors such as him kind of playing around at times, hitting himself in the face with a shoestring at one point. So what we were also getting is a good picture of problems with that attention and that focus that he was exhibiting back at that point in time as well.
Speaking of that, based on your evaluation, did you reach a diagnosis of ADHD for Mr. Chance?
I did.
And what was that based on?
That was based on multiple sources. First, the school records, which indicate a history of attention problems. And again, they go through and they describe some of the behaviors that he was engaging in that were observed. And these are classic textbook symptoms of ADHD. And not only was the observer seeing those symptoms, but there were teacher reports of those symptoms. Also, his mother and at least one of the teachers completed behavior rating forms, which help the examiner get a better picture of where behavior problems lie. And particularly with the teacher report, there were significant problems with attention and concentration noted. So the ADHD diagnosis comes from documentation of the symptoms that are required for the diagnosis when he's in school at a young age. He continues to have those problems, as we see on my testing, for example, with like the working memory and some of those things that have trouble focusing, maybe in pulling all the attention together, and the processing speed. I see also some of those symptoms when I'm talking to him, in the sense of at times he's somewhat verbally impulsive. He's fidgety during the interview. So we have multiple sources, again, of this ADHD symptomatology showing itself over his lifespan.
Was that ADHD ever formally treated?
It was not.
How does that interact with borderline intellectual functioning?
So you have someone who has a borderline capability, who is already, doesn't have the ability, they're already functioning at a lower level, a lower way of comprehending things, a lower way of understanding things. Then you add in ADHD symptoms, particularly of inattention and impulsivity, and you have difficulty then really even thinking through what is going on. So one of the things in the testing was that even though he was lower functioning, if he was given more time, he could at times do better. But when you have someone who has ADHD, it's hard for them to then put in that time because the ADHD symptoms are taking over. So it's almost as if there's like this internal, break to say slow down. He doesn't have that. So you have two factors or two issues going on that affect his reasoning, comprehension, decision making.
Based on your evaluation, testing, school records, how would you describe his social functioning in relationship to other people?
Judge, I'd object to relevance unless we have a time. I don't think counsel asked about diagnosis as time. Like what part of his life, when.
I would ask, okay, let me rephrase. Based on everything you evaluated, school testing, how would you describe his social functioning in relationship to other people around the time that you talked to him, evaluated him?
Overall, I would say that he is naive in a social sense. I think it is his intellectual ability, or lower intellectual ability, his ADHD, that created issues since he was young. He wants to fit in, and going again back to him wanting to be seen as smart and capable throughout my interviews with him. I think that's been present amongst peers and others for a long time. School records note there was a meeting in March of 2025 where his mother indicates that he wants to fit in, doesn't like being seen as different and being pulled out of class, doesn't want to take help, doesn't want to admit that he needs help. So I see him as an individual who has been struggling throughout his life to cover for areas where he is not the same as everybody else, where he is not doing as well as everybody else, by working harder and trying harder to fit in.
Is he someone that is seeking approval and is eager to please?
I think he is absolutely seeking approval and trying to fit in, and certainly trying to please in the sense that he wants others to see him as smart and capable, and so maybe more willing. Again, when I say that naive, he doesn't necessarily, he sees what's right in front of him. So he maybe sees step one, but doesn't see step 2 or 3. He's taking things at face value and not really questioning, well, is there an ulterior motive here? Is there something else here? Is this really, this position seems this way, but is it really going to lead somewhere else?
And is that what you mean by naive? Because you mentioned that earlier as well.
Right, naive in the sense that he does not necessarily have that insight or that ability to see steps ahead.
Having conducted the full evaluation, the number of hours with Isaiah, his mother, and the testings, what are your diagnoses?
I diagnosed him with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder as well as a borderline intellectual functioning.
The school system found him functioning in that similar range, around 12. Does that history inform your opinion?
Yes.
Is there anything in your testing to indicate he exaggerated his difficulties or performed poorly on purpose?
No, the opposite. I mean, my testing was actually somewhat better in some well, it was significantly better than his testing when he was 12. So if he was trying to present as low functioning, I would not expect him to actually perform better now than when he was in school.
Bringing everything together, the borderline intellectual functioning, the untreated ADHD, and the academic functioning at elementary school levels, how would you characterize his overall functioning as a person in the world based on everything?
I think he is a person who, again, is trying hard to get by, is trying to achieve, has goals, and is trying to achieve those goals, but because of his intellectual limitations, his ADHD, he has to work very hard to achieve those things. I think he's working very hard to be liked by others, to fit in, and it's this bit of being naive that I think also makes him vulnerable in the sense that he is invested in trying, again, to gain respect from people. And so he is, I think that puts him at a disadvantage in the sense that he is more likely to be taken advantage of than to be the person that takes advantage of others. He presents to me as someone who's much more of a follower than a leader.
Thank you, Doctor. Tend to the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Cross?
How long was your interview with him, Doctor?
I interviewed him about an hour and a half of just talking with him, and then the testing with him was another, I believe, hour, maybe 2 hours of interview with him, because I was with him a total of 4 hours. And of course, part of that time was the administration of the psychological assessments.
So out of the 4 hours, you actually spoke with him for an hour and a half?
Well, I actually spoke with him the whole time because the tests are verbally administered. So
Okay.
I'm collecting background information for at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of that time. And then the other part, even though it's testing, so it's specific questions that I'm asking, I'm still observing his behavior and still interacting with him.
Okay, but the testing requires a lot of attention, does it not, on his part?
Well, yes, he has to focus and pay attention to the testing.
And a lot of it's timed, correct?
About half of them are timed.
Right. So he doesn't really have a lot of time for chit-chat. You're giving him instructions and then he has to perform, correct?
Correct.
All right. So really, your chance to have a conversation with him to get a feel about him was for an hour and a half, correct?
Yes.
And in that hour and a half, you are giving an opinion of this man as being naive, correct?
Yes.
And vulnerable to being manipulated, is that what you're saying? Being a follower instead of a leader?
Yes, it is.
And you're coming up with all of that after an hour and a half of interviewing him?
Well, it's more than just an hour and a half of interviewing. All of that isn't determined just on my interview with him. It's determined on his test results, his school
Which
event-
test results? Your test results?
my test results,
Which
and
is intelligence testing and academic achievement, correct?
correct.
Did you test him for naivete?
No,
Okay. Did you test him for vulnerability?
no,
Or did you give him a specific test that designates whether he's a leader or a follower?
no.
Okay. And so you have your test results when you had him perform the test, correct?
Yes,
All right. And then you're looking at testing he did when he was 4 years old, when he took the WISC, correct?
yeah. Well, it wasn't exactly the WISC, but yes, it was a Wechsler test that he took when he was 4.
Okay. It was a Wechsler test though, right?
Yes,
Just like the WACE that you gave him, similar, not just like, but similar, one designed for toddlers or children.
correct.
Okay. And what is the name of that test? Because you didn't tell us that earlier.
I would have to look at the name of that test. I don't administer a test to kids that young. It was the Wechsler Preschool and Primary Scale of Intelligence, 3rd edition.
And then when he was, I believe, 9, almost 10 years old, 9 years and 11 months, that sound about right?
Yes,
He's tested again, and this time it's the WISC, correct?
that is correct.
All right. And that's, again, a Wechsler intelligence scale for children.
Yes,
Okay. And then you're giving him the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, the WACE.
correct.
And I'm saying WISC and WACE, these are acronyms for that test, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So you had his 4-year-old, 10-year-old, and 12-year-old intelligence tests, correct?
Yes,
And I think they may have done the Woodcock-Johnson, which is an academic test of
yes.
some type. Now, the Woodcock-Johnson, that's not a test that you would utilize in the forensic setting, correct?
I mean, some people do utilize it in the forensic setting. I use another academic achievement test system, so I don't use the Woodcock-Johnson.
Okay. So you had that testing, and then you had the notes of his teachers in the school setting, correct?
Yes,
That you've indicated. Both observation notes, notes where they've documented what the parents are telling them, correct?
yes,
All right. But that's between the age of 4 and 12, correct?
correct.
All right. And I think you may have referenced something. You said at a parent meeting in 2025. I'm assuming you misspoke.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did. It was 2020.
2020. Okay. So again, that's 6 years ago, correct?
Yes,
4 years before the offense date in this case, correct?
correct.
All right. And so when you're talking about his naivete and whether he's a follower or a leader, you're looking primarily at notes about this man when he was a little boy, right? In a
Yes.
school setting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now, you did an interview with him for an hour and a half, right?
Yes.
And you said he was very invested.
Yes.
And you felt like he was trying to prove to you that he was smart too, correct?
Correct.
Did you take into account that he may have actually be intelligent enough to give input?
It's not that I didn't think he wasn't intelligent enough to give input, but he wanted to present as someone who I think is much higher functioning than he is.
And that's your assumption from his behavior, correct? When you say he wanted to.
Well, I'd say it's my opinion based on my years of psychological evaluations and working with individuals and seeing his school test results and his current test results.
So you've given an opinion, borderline intellectual functioning. I want to ask you about that. And you gave an opinion about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yes.
I believe that you refer to that as ADHD. That's a common acronym for that, right?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say your intelligence testing and the academic testing you gave, coupled with the testing that he had in elementary school into middle school, is the primary basis for your opinion that he is borderline intellectual functioning?
Yes.
Okay. The diagnosis you gave for ADHD, are you following a diagnostic criteria of some type for that?
Yes.
And is that contained within some type of statistical manual that you and other forensic psychologists, psychiatrists rely upon?
Yes.
And is that the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders?
It is.
And you were using the 5th edition TR, correct?
Actually, I was using, yes, that's the most recent, yes.
Okay, that's the most recent.
Yes.
All right. I'm holding the 5th edition, right? You can
Yes,
see it
and
from
then,
there?
right, I'm sorry, I saw the purple and I was like, wait a minute, because the new one is
Is the new one a
blue.
different color?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
I haven't seen it, so I didn't know. So there are diagnostic criteria that you follow for ADHD, correct?
Yes.
All right. Is there a substantial difference between the 5th and the TR? I want to be fair in this area of ADHD.
There is not.
Okay. So there is a section in the DSM-5, I'm just going to refer to it as the DSM-5, and that is commonly the way it's referred to, or the DSM-5-TR, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'm going to refer to the DSM-5 at page 63. There is a functional consequences of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder section. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And this is where it's being related that ADHD is associated with certain things at school level, like school performance, academic achievement. But in adults, it's associated with poor occupational performance is one thing, correct?
Yes.
Attainment, that's one too, you would agree with that?
Yes.
Attendance, poor attendance, and higher probability of unemployment, correct?
Yes.
Did you obtain an employment history from Mr. Chance?
I did.
Okay, and were you aware that he worked as a longshoreman?
Yes.
Okay, and he held other employment too, correct?
Yes.
And in order to work as a longshoreman, he had to obtain a transportation worker identification credential. Did he talk to you about that at all?
No.
All right. And that requires a process of application with the Department of Homeland Security through the TSA website and then following up paperwork and interviews. Were you aware that he went through that to obtain that credential, to be able to access the areas of ports in Jacksonville to work as a longshoreman?
No.
Okay. Counsel didn't ask you about this, but you are being reimbursed or paid for your services in this case?
Yes.
What are you charging, or what is your fee schedule, doctor?
I charge $200 an hour.
Okay. And is that across the board, $200 for an hour for review, for writing, for any kind of work you do?
Yes, it is.
And is the $200 an hour, excuse me, does that include testifying?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Do you know how much you've accumulated and the amount of work you've done in this case?
To date, I have billed close to $4,000 based on the work that I've done for the case and then the depositions that I did for the state attorney's office.
Okay. So when we took your deposition, you were being paid for that too, correct?
Yes.
So you've billed $4,000. Now you've submitted invoices already?
Yes.
Okay. May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I have no other questions, thank you.
Okay, redirect? Okay, may this witness be excused? Okay, thank you, you're free to go. All right, who's gonna be your next witness?
Michelle Smith.
Okay.
Your Honor, our next witness would like the video turned off for her testimony.
Okay, very good. I'd ask the media not broadcast the next witness, the face of the next witness. And counsel, can you introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, my name is Walter Otto, Assistant Regional Counsel. I'm with Mr. Chance's defense team.
Okay, very good. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this class will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Very good. You may proceed.
Please state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
My name is Michelle Smith, Meshall,
And where do you live, ma'am?
I live in Jacksonville, Florida.
How long have you been there?
58 years.
And what do you do for a living?
Me and my husband has a trucking business, and I have a tax office.
You prepare tax returns?
Yes.
Okay. How do you know Isaiah Chance?
I know Isaiah. I knew Isaiah in the womb before he even became out of the womb. I knew his mom when she was pregnant with him.
What's your relation to him?
My relationship with his mom?
What's your relationship to him?
To him, I'm his godmother.
Okay. How do you know his mother?
Her and my daughter was best friends, and she became part of the family.
So you've known Mr. Chance his entire life.
Yes, I have.
Did you babysit him when he was young?
Yes, I watched him. I went over to his house also, and he came to my house.
Did you attend family events, celebrations, birthdays, that sort of thing?
Yes, I did.
How would you describe Isaiah as a young child?
He was quiet. He pretty much stayed to himself. He was loving.
Did you ever notice any behavioral problems with him while he was growing up?
No.
How was he with his brothers and sisters?
He was the only boy for a while, and he was protected of his sisters and his mother, but they all had a good relationship.
As he was growing up, I think at some point we discussed him getting involved in sports.
Yes, he played football for a brief moment.
Did you go to his games?
Yes.
What happened with that? Did he keep up with that?
I don't think that was something that he was interested in, so no, he didn't continue to play football.
What was your relationship with Isaiah like?
Well, my relationship with him was, I was more or less like a confidant. Like, he would call me, and we would talk about anything, in and everything.
He would come to you with his problems?
Yes,
Would he tell you the truth?
yes,
In all those years of confiding in you, have you ever known him to lie to you?
no,
In all those years of confiding in you, have you ever known him to lie to you?
no. He never lied to me. That's one thing that I can, admit about him, that he would tell me the truth.
If he was wrong about something, would he tell you that?
Yes, he would.
Now, you were close to him when he was younger. Did you stay close to him through high school?
Yes, I stayed close to him throughout his life, throughout his whole life.
Did you ever discuss his interests and goals as he got older?
Yes, we talked about a lot of things. One of the things I know that he wanted to go to school to be a merchant seaman.
And did he achieve that?
No, he didn't, but he did work. He wanted to work, so he did work.
What kind of jobs did he do?
I know that he was doing some door dashing, he was doing Ubering, and I want to say that he worked at a warehouse.
Did he also have an interest in music?
Yes,
And what was your experience with that?
well, he was an inspiring rapper, and he would send he sent me a request over on Instagram and wanted me to look at one of his videos. So he kept me involved, with his music.
Did you actually help him make one of his videos?
Yes, he needed some money. He needed some money for, I guess, to finish up his video shoot. And he asked me would I send it to him, and I did.
You supported him in that?
You said what, sir?
You supported him in that?
Yes, I was. I was very supportive of him.
We also talked about his love of animals earlier. Tell
Yep.
us about that.
Me and my husband, Pitt had some puppies, and Isaiah and his mom came over one day, and it's this one puppy. I think he was the runt. I want to say he was the runt of the puppies, but he kept following Isaiah around, and every time Isaiah came over, that puppy would follow him around. But me and my husband, we had decided on that we was going to give him that puppy because he took to that puppy, and that puppy took to him.
Did Isaiah have any issues when he was born?
He was a preemie. He came early. Yes.
And you were around during that time?
Yes.
As he grew up, watching him as you did you ever see any signs of abuse or trauma?
None.
What about his relationship with his mom? How was that?
The relationship that they have, every child should want to have that with their mother. They are very close.
In all the years that you were his confidant, somebody you talked to, did he ever mention anything about gang activity?
No, he never mentioned anything to me about nothing dealing with the gang.
Did he ever talk to you about friends who had been shot or killed?
No, he didn't.
Did you ever see him with a gun?
No, I never saw him with a gun.
When you would talk to him, check in on him, where would he be?
Most of the time, he would be at home at his mom's house.
Have you been following this case as it's progressed?
On and off.
When you hear what's being said about him in this case, is that the Isaiah you know?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
You still love your godson?
Yes, I do.
You intend to keep in touch with him no matter what happens?
Yes, I am.
Is there anything else you want the jury to know?
Yes. The Isaiah that I know, I don't know the Isaiah that is being portrayed. The one, like I said, that I know, I love him, and I'm gonna always love him. And he's a good boy. I don't know this side.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I have a moment, please, Your Honor?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Okay, Cross?
Yes. Ms. Smith, you had a wonderful relationship with Isaiah Chance, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
You've known him since he was a baby.
Yes,
You have witnessed what a wonderful, loving, supportive mother he had.
yes,
He grew up in a wonderful home,
yes.
no abuse.
None.
And you have also provided him with support.
Yes, I have.
You've even financially supported his music videos,
Yes,
the drill rap music videos that he produces.
yes,
And you have stated here that he was a confidant of yours, or he confided in you, is that correct?
yes, he did.
Talked to you about his dreams and aspirations.
Yes,
He wanted to be a sea merchant, is that correct?
yes,
And you've known him to have plenty of jobs, is that also correct?
yes.
Okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, redirect? Okay, may this witness be excused?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, you're free to go. All right, who's your next witness?
Our last witness is Victoria Gray.
Okay,
She would ask, not to be on the camera.
okay, again, I would ask the media not to broadcast the identity of this witness.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this class will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please state your name?
Victoria Gray.
And how are you related to Isaiah Chance?
I'm Isaiah's mother.
How old is Isaiah?
He's 23.
Right. I know this may be difficult for you, but can you tell the jury about Isaiah as a person, how you know him?
I know him because I gave birth to him. He's my second oldest. He is he's very I can't even say the word. His social intelligence usually attracts people. He is one that is very well reserved. Kind of always to himself. He does engages himself into philosophy, politics. He did start strategizing on making sure that he managed and operates a business plans, which is where we left off with he was trying to create his businesses. And pretty much, and he is a father who he loves his children as well and his family.
Did he live in Jacksonville his entire life?
Yes,
And did he live with you when he was in his formative years being raised?
yes.
How many brothers and sisters does he have?
From me, it's 4 girls and 2 boys.
And did they live with him, or at least for a portion of
Yes.
the time? Okay. How would you describe him as he was growing up in elementary and middle school?
He had a normal upbringing, never really had any issues with him.
Was he gentle child?
He was reserved, very quiet, didn't really ask for much.
Was he violent as a child?
No.
Did he play any sports when he was younger?
He did play sports when he was younger, but I did find out that what I placed him in was not his interest, and I later discovered that. So what I was putting him in, those were sports what he was not into. It was me.
Was one of those sports football?
Yes.
What happened when he didn't want to play football?
At once upon a time, we were in the middle of the game. Isaiah did not want, I guess he just decided he didn't want to do it. So in the middle of the play, he walked off the field. So of course the coaches and everybody's like, get in the game, get in the game.
Was he helpful around the home?
He was very helpful. I do consider Isaiah to be my do-it-yourself type guy. Single mom. Generally when it comes to hanging, being the man, if my garage is broken, I look to him to help me. I am not a DIY person.
How was he with his brothers and sisters?
Overall, again, Isaiah has always been to himself. He does come out and engages with family activity. But he come out and talk, and then he goes back into his room, and he enjoys reading. So he spent a lot of time reading.
Did he ever help his siblings, help them train or help them with their sports or their schoolwork or anything like that?
Well, coming up, my kids, we were exposed to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so we would all, as a family, when you say train,
Just help them get ready for anything, or
I wouldn't say he would help them train, but we as a family, collectively, we all kind of work together.
and then did you notice anything talking about school early on with Isaiah? Any issues he was having?
Early on, maybe in elementary stages, again, because Isaiah was always quiet, he wouldn't really speak or say much. So I thought that something was going on, so I did reach out and try to get help. But by the time we got to speech therapy, come to find out, he just chose not to talk.
What about throughout his school? Did you have other meetings with the school about Isaiah's progress?
When you say school, because he was in private school for the majority part of his life, and then he went to public school. So
Well, either one, but let's start with public school. Did he have any issues with Duval County Public Schools?
issues at Duval County Public School was just more of Isaiah, I guess, trying to understand something that it wasn't, he didn't catch on right then. The way his mind or his brain processes things, I'll say it that way.
And he did graduate from high school, though?
Yes,
And did he start working after that?
yes.
Where was he working?
He's had many jobs. He worked at Jacksport. He did Uber Eats sometimes. I do believe it was Instacart. A lot of staffing agencies, because where I'm from, this quick to get on in with a temp agency because he doesn't really have much experience coming from high school.
Did he have goals about what he wanted for a career?
Yes, he was actually in the process of becoming a merchant marine. He already had his TWIC badge. So the process where we left off was he had to test, which required some additional testing, what they needed to do. And we had to get scheduled. It was something with the schedules, we couldn't get aligned. So that's why we had left off with that.
Prior to this case, did you ever know Isaiah to have been arrested?
No,
And you mentioned earlier that he has children. How many children does he have?
3.
What are their names?
Cabri, Kylan, and Iceland.
How is he as a father?
From what I've seen, very hands-on. Love. I got a chance to see him different because he's my son, so his love for me was kind of different for his children. So I did get a chance to see him interact. He was there.
We've heard witnesses describe his relationship with you as you being his heart. Do you have a special relationship with Isaiah?
I love all my children.
Of course. Okay. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like this jury to hear about Isaiah, his character, his upbringing?
I mean, as far as his upbringing, he was a normal child. I do believe that as we start gauging into the adulthood, Isaiah did express during some time, he had quite a few different areas where he wanted to engage in. He was trying to decipher if he wanted to be an entrepreneur, if he wanted to just open up a business and do this. So he did come up with a business that he decided to stick with, which Isaiah believes that he wanted to, part of one of his businesses, he wanted to open up this community to give back to people who has lost hope. And I do recall that in Jonah, the word was sent a second time. So how Isaiah developed this plan as a businessman, he wanted to just make sure that people know that there is hope.
And I assume I know the answer to this, but you plan to keep a lot of contact with Isaiah when he's in prison, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I had now.
Okay, Cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Gray, when Isaiah was in school, he was never diagnosed with any sort of mental health disability. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And during the time he was in school, he actually graduated with a high school diploma. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you just described him that he attracts people. He has this social intelligence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Charming, perceptive personality.
That's correct.
And that he is also very smart. Is that correct?
I don't know what your definition of very smart, because we all weigh things different.
Okay. Did you say that he was very industrious and was strategizing and had the ability to come up with a business plan?
I said we were strategizing, yes.
And that was for his business, correct?
Correct.
And he wanted to open up different businesses.
Well, we talked about mainly one.
Okay. And which one was that? The one where he is giving back? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. He also aspired and was going to be a merchant marine.
Correct.
And he had done a lot to progress and to be able to do that. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also have said that he is your do-it-yourself person. Anytime you needed something fixed, he was there to help you. Is that correct?
And that's correct.
And he's the one, if you needed something installed like a smart TV, he was the one that would be able to do that.
That's correct.
So he does have skills that he was able to utilize and complete tasks for you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
These were things that you would have difficulty doing yourself, right? Installing the smart TV is not something that you found easy. Is that true, ma'am?
Yes.
And you relied upon him to be able to set all of that up for you.
I wouldn't say rely, because if he's not available, then I will, of course, pay someone to come do it.
Okay. But my point is, he could do it.
He
Isn't
could
that
do
true,
it.
ma'am?
That's correct.
Okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, we're good, redirect? Okay, may this witness be excused? Okay, thank you, ma'am, you're free to go. Do you have any more witnesses at this time? Pardon me?
Not unless, no other witnesses.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Let's just go ahead, we'll take a quick afternoon recess, so if you all could just step outside for a few moments.
All right. All jurors are up.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Mr. Chance, we're gonna have a seat. This is the part of the trial, or this phase of the trial, where you have to make the decision whether or not you wish to testify or remain silent. Again, do you realize that this decision is solely yours to make? Do you understand that? Okay, and have you made a decision whether or not you wish to testify or remain silent? What is your decision? Do you wish to testify or not? Okay. And has anyone, including your attorneys, in any way pressured you, threatened you, or coerced you in any way to make this decision? And has anyone made you any assurances regarding what the outcome of this penalty phase will be? And you realize no one can, because no one can predict the future, correct? Okay. All right, very good. Okay, so we come back in, you'll rest, and then, Ms. Toomey, you're ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, and then, how many witnesses do you have this afternoon?
I have Dr. Eisenstein that's going to testify today, so that's all I have. I mean, that should take up quite till
Okay,
5, I guess.
well, and it's just direct, right? Because you're not ready to go and cross yet.
Correct.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So let's take a quick 10-minute comfort break. We'll come back. You'll rest, Mr. Petridis, in front of the jury, and then Ms. Toomey, you'll get going with your doctor. Okay.